Welcome to The Explainer. In a world that's more connected than ever, organizations are pretty much under constant attack. So how do they even begin to fight back? Well, today, we're going to open up the professional's playbook on cybersecurity and see exactly how the pros turn all that digital chaos into something they can actually control.
I mean, this is the core problem, right? You're facing threats that are relentless, always changing, and you almost never see them coming. The answer isn't just about building bigger, stronger digital walls. No, it's about playing a much smarter game. A game of strategy, of foresight, and yeah, of taking some calculated risks.
All right, so where do you even start? Well, before you can put up a fight, everybody needs to be speaking the same language. In the world of cybersecurity, that means defining the battlefield so everyone, from the coders in the basement to the CEO in the corner office, is on the exact same page. It really all begins with the threat. Now, this is your potential source of trouble, the who or the what that could do some damage. It could be a person, like a clever hacker, or a nasty piece of software, like ransomware. You know, it could even be something totally non-digital, like a flood or a fire taking out a server room.
But see, a threat is pretty much useless if it doesn't have an opening. And that opening, that's the vulnerability. It's the chink in the armor. In our digital world, this could be anything from an unlocked door, like unpatched software, to a super simple password, or even just a poorly configured server that's just sitting there, waiting for trouble.
So then you have to ask the big question, so what? If something bad happens, how bad is it really going to be? Answering that question is what defines the impact. We're talking about real measurable consequences here. Cold, hard financial loss, your most critical data getting stolen, systems being down for days, or just watching your company's reputation go up in smoke.
And the final piece of this whole puzzle is likelihood. What are the odds of all this actually happening? Is an attack almost a sure thing, or is it a 1 in a million long shot? Figuring this out is absolutely key to separating the things that could happen from the things you really need to worry about right now.
So, let's see how these 4 ideas come together to paint the full picture. You've got a ransomware attack. That's your threat. It takes advantage of a software flaw. That's the vulnerability. The potential impact, $1 million data breach. And because the system hasn't been updated, the likelihood is high. And boom, just like that, you've defined your risk.
Okay, so now that we're all speaking the same language, how do organizations actually start to wrangle all this risk? Well, the good news is they don't have to invent a strategy from scratch. Instead, they turn to these globally recognized playbooks, or frameworks, that lay out a proven path forward.
One of the heavy hitters is the NIST Risk Management Framework, or RMF. This is the go-to for the US government, but tons of private companies use it too. Now, you can see it has 7 steps, but the key thing here isn't the number, it's that this is a continuous loop. Security is never a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's a constant cycle of prep, action, and review.
Then there's another major playbook, ISO 27005. This one's an international standard, and it's all about weaving risk management right into the fabric of an organization's security system. The whole idea is to make thinking about risk a core part of the company's DNA.
So how do you choose? Well, a big difference is focus. NIST tends to get really granular, looking at the security of specific, individual systems. ISO, on the other hand, takes a much wider, organization-wide view. But here's the thing. Even though their approaches are different, they share the exact same goal, to give you a structured, repeatable way to make smart security decisions.
So a framework gives you the game plan, but you still need the right tools to actually execute it. Once you've picked your path, the real work starts, analyzing all those risks, and this is the important part, deciding what you're going to fix first.
Let's just state a fundamental truth about cybersecurity. No one has unlimited time, unlimited money, or unlimited people. You simply cannot fix every single thing. And that's exactly where risk scoring comes in. It's the systematic way that pros figure out which fires are the most important to put out first.
And professionals have a whole toolkit of ways to score this stuff. It can be as simple as that basic formula we talked about, just multiply likelihood by impact, or it can get way more specialized, like the CVSS score for software bugs, or the FAIR model, which actually tries to calculate the potential risk in dollars and cents.
So, you've scored your risks. You've identified the biggest, scariest dangers out there. Now what? You have to do something. And for that, a whole lot of pros turn to a list of just 18 key defensive actions. These are known as the CIS controls. These 18 controls are really the fundamentals of good defense. They are practical, they are actionable, and they are proven to stop the most common and damaging cyber attacks we see out there.
We're talking about basic stuff, but it's incredibly effective. Things like knowing what hardware and software you actually have, protecting your data, and training your people. All right, for our final piece, let's see how all of this planning and analysis actually gets turned into real-world action inside a company. How does a good idea on a PowerPoint slide become something everyone has to follow?
A strategy is just an idea floating around until you make it official. And that happens through documented security policies. These aren't just gentle suggestions. They set clear, black and white rules for the whole organization, spelling out exactly what's allowed and what's not.
Now, here's a really important reality check. Even with the best frameworks, the best controls, the best policies, you can never get risk down to zero. It's just not possible. There will always be some risk left over. And that leftover bit? That's what we call residual risk. This chart basically shows the entire goal of a cybersecurity strategy in one simple picture. Every organization starts out with a really high level of what's called inherent risk. That's the danger you face if you do nothing at all. The entire point of this whole playbook, the controls, the policies, the training, is to shrink that risk way down to a much more manageable, acceptable level. And what's left over at the end? That's your residual risk.
And that acceptable level of leftover risk is exactly what gets reported up to leadership. A good strategist doesn't just throw technical jargon at them. They use clear, simple reports, breaking down the key findings, summarizing the threats, and making solid recommendations. This is how executives can actually make smart, informed business decisions based on a clear, data-driven security picture. So if you take one thing away from this whole playbook, let it be this. Effective cybersecurity is not about buying the latest, greatest, shiniest piece of technology. It is a strategic, continuous process, and it is all built on a foundation of deep, constant risk awareness. And you know, while this is the playbook for massive organizations, these principles work for all of us. Thinking in terms of threats, vulnerabilities, and impact is a seriously powerful way to manage our own digital lives. So what are you leaving vulnerable? Thanks for tuning into this explainer.